John, I think back to like a year ago, whole different situation. You know, everything was kind of bad for you at that point in time. Just wonder now, a year later, sitting in front of all of us. I mean, is it comfortable for you? I mean, you enjoy these situations again? Because I know there was a time you kind of shied away, kind of stayed in the shadows a little bit. So what's the feeling like as you sit down in front of a room full of media right now?
I'm definitely really excited to be back in the game. Really grateful to be back in the game. I'm excited for this opportunity to fight at UFC 200, such a huge historic event, and I'm just enjoying the process. You know, pretty focused and motivated and just ready to get back what belongs to me.
I know you talked a lot about kind of rehabilitating your image inside the cage, outside the cage. I do have to ask.
A part of, I guess, rehabilitating my image is to be more myself, and me not doing that in the past would be me, trying hard to be a person I'm not. Me doing that is who I am, and I really didn't know what he had said during my fight, so I just thought I'd cover my end of the whole thing by just giving him a finger.
But then didn't he actually have a lot of nice things to say about the way he fought, right?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he had that much, nothing too positive to say during my fight. It felt like every little thing Ovin St. Preux did, he was, praising Ovins and, nice shot landed by Ovins, and he would completely ignore the 10 shots I landed before that. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting to kind of like back to your fans.
You're asking if I was excited to be at the press conference?
Yeah,
the post fight, or
no, that first one.
The first one.
When you came
Yeah,
out and,
that was fun.
The first time people had seen you in a long time.
Yeah, that was a good time. I didn't expect to have such a warm welcome, but sure enough, the people seemed pretty excited to see me, and they booed Daniel Cormier pretty well, and that could have played out so many different ways, but it was just good to see that I was missed, and yeah, I'm just grateful for it.
But it's gone to the next level now. They're making cartoons about you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you even interpret that? Because now this storyline has a life of its own.
Right. Yeah. It definitely. This storyline is pretty powerful. It's definitely a story people want to see and tune in for. I'm grateful to be a part of it. Ultimately, in my mind right now, the person who wins this next fight is really the winner in the whole argument. So, it's fun to witness, the cartoons and all the memes people are making and things like that, but. For me, I've always said it. When you win the fight, you win the argument, you win the whole story. So I'm more focused on just my training and what I need to be doing to be successful in a few days.
But if the second fight wins the argument, what about the third? Like let's say DC got you on the second one, you wouldn't want a third.
Oh, I don't even think of losing. Yeah. Never lost before, and my plan is to continue to be undefeated. I am aware that, I think DC has a lot of pressure on him, after I win this second fight, he's over. He's really over. He'll have a great job and doing commentary work, but it'll be a major blow to his legacy, and I think that's a lot of pressure for him. So, where I won't even, I just think the pressure's on for him. This really is a make or break situation for him. So I enjoy being in the position that I'm in. I feel as if there's a lot less pressure for me. I'm 28 years old and I got a long time to fight. Where he's in a position where he loses this one. He never really was the champion. I think he knows that. So I'm excited to sit his ass down somewhere.
He hasn't lost to anybody but you. I mean, do you think he's a talented martial artist? Do you think he's one of the top fighters in the world?
Yeah, I really do. I think he's one of the top martial artists in the world, for sure. I think he tries to paint a picture of it being me and him and then the rest of the division. But that's not the way number one works. You know, there's only one top dog and then there's the rest of the division. So I'm excited to go out there and prove that this is my time and my era. You know, I don't want this time to be, I don't want to share this time with anybody else. I don't want people to say, oh, it was the Jon Jones and DC era, like together. You know, I just want it to be my era and him to be a part of my story and my era. So that's what I'm working for. I'm working to be number one, be the champion of this era, and make it so that, you know, DC was really just the guy hanging on to what was mine while I was gone.
John, when you think about the way you won that first fight, have you seen any progression from him that would bridge that gap to allow him to win?
No, I don't.
In what part would you say did you really won that first fight?
I don't see that much progression in DC's game. You know, everyone's talking about, you know, John's been gone. DC's gotten a lot better, and John didn't look good in his last fight. And I don't see how he's gotten a lot better. You know, to the common eye, yes, it's impressive that he beat Gustafsson and Anthony Johnson. But to say he's gotten a lot better since I've begun is just simply not true. He's been doing the same exact things that he's been doing since day one. Did I look not as impressive in my last fight? Absolutely. But to say DC has gotten a ton better since I've been gone is just not accurate to say. I spent a lot of time studying DC's whole career, and he's doing the same moves, the same takedowns, the same uppercut, left hooks, the same everything. I haven't seen a spinning kick come out of it, or a really slick submission, or a really slick boxing combination. Nothing, absolutely nothing different has come out of DC. So I'm excited to prove that I'm prepared to beat DC. I'm excited to show all the work that I've been putting in to beat him. I feel like I really didn't get a chance to do that when I fought Ovince St. Preux. It was just a completely different match than what I had prepared myself for. But when it comes to DC, I've put a lot of time into his style, and I keep having these thoughts and these dreams, and I keep seeing the fight play over and over again, and I really see myself beating him in a way I couldn't do it the first time. My confidence is in a different place. It's my first rematch, and I feel like I have a great blueprint of what I need to do.
You seem like you really relish the idea of beating DC more than maybe you have beating other opponents. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair, only because, DC's hatred for me is so much stronger than I've ever experienced. I've had these rivalries before, like rivalries with guys like Chael Sonnen, where you can't really take anything he said too seriously because ultimately he doesn't win. So Chael, will it be remembered years from now? Maybe not. People won't talk about him in barbershops when they talk about greatest fighters of all time. He's not even in the argument. And then guys like Rashad, we had a beef, and it was pretty real because he knew me personally. Me and Rashad had a lot to prove. I thought we were fighting for like Albuquerque. Like a lot of people in Albuquerque wanted me to win. A lot of people in Albuquerque wanted him to win. And we're fighting for the Jackson's name and things like that. But me and DC, our beef stems solely from the fact that I said I could take him down sarcastically, and even when he tells that story, it just doesn't even seem right. It makes him look like an idiot. It's like, so let me get this straight. You hate Jon Jones because he said he could take you down. Like, this is really where this all started. You know what I mean? So he just doesn't like me. It's pretty clear, and that's why I want to beat his ass so bad. Because it's like, all right, if you want to try to paint me to be this monster of a person, and if you want to hate me this bad, you're gonna really hate me when I've ruined your legacy. Just making you that guy who never really was. So.
John,
I'm excited to do that.
Do you remember your inner monologue when you did take him down in the first fight?
My inner monologue?
Yeah, like do you remember sort of a so there, or I told you so, you know what I mean, in your head, I'm trying, because you
not-
were able to take him down.
Yeah, not during the fight. Not during the fight. But after the fight, when I watched it, you know, it felt great to just see how many times I've gotten him down. The takedown I'm most proud of was the foot sweep. That was just a great, well-timed move, and got his ass.
John,
Feels
who
good.
really hates the other person more? You? Or
I don't hate DC at all. I don't hate DC at all. I dislike him because he dislikes me. But I really feel like he hates me. You know, when he does interviews and he talks about, you know, Jon Jones being this bad person, like this terrible individual, this terrible human being. You know, he almost tries to paint me as this person who doesn't deserve a second chance. And it's just interesting, you know, because ultimately we're not even here to be judging each other's character. We're here to fight each other and to entertain fans. And I feel like DC tries to paint me as this monster so that when I beat him and delegitimize him as a champion, he'll always say, well, you know what, at least I was the better person. You know, he's trying to like get this moral victory over me because he know he won't get the actual victory over me. So I just feel like he hates me a lot, and that's what makes it so much sweeter to be able to beat him again.
John, how important is it to you that you be the one to tarnish or ruin his legacy? You've mentioned legacy a couple times.
Right.
Is it more important to you that you be the one to really ruin that for him?
I mean, I'm the only one to do it, really. I'm the only one to do it. I'm not even really fighting to ruin his legacy. I'm just fighting to make sure he doesn't ruin mine. You know, like right now, I feel like this is my era. And like I said, I don't want to share it with anyone. I don't want people to look back and say, you know, man, right around, you know, UFC 200, that's when Jon and DC were at the prime of their careers. So like, no, it's when Jon was at the prime of his career and DC was just another opponent like anybody else. As of right now, that's what he is. You know, outside of being able to stir things up outside of the octagon. Like he's been able to stir things up outside of the octagon, but inside of the octagon, I think people like are making him this bigger thing than what he is. Like in my eyes, DC is just another opponent when we're talking about inside the octagon. He's not my toughest fight. Alexander Gustafsson was my toughest fight. I consider the DC fight kind of like a Rashad Evans fight or Glover Teixeira fight. At no point in the fight did I get rocked with DC. At no point did he take me down. At no point did he, you know, put me in a position where I feel like I was going through hell. You know, I coasted through that fight. But everyone else is trying to make it like Jon and DC are like, this is Ali Frazier. This is the biggest one. I think the fight that we all need to be talking about when you talk about, you know, what's going to happen in the rematch is when I fought Gustafsson. You know, he's the one who came inches away from winning. You know, that's the fight that I'll probably lose sleep over leading up to. But DC, you know, that's like you asking me to rematch Rashad or Ryan Bader or anybody else that I beat pretty decisively.
Was there?
So I'm trying to really make it like, I'm trying not to let the outside drama. Fade into what's actually happening here. I think when we're talking about what's actual, I'm actually just a lot better fighter than DC is. He's just really good at keeping himself relevant with this beef, outside beef that's going on.
And obviously, like the Gustafsson fight has been talked about as a rematch for 2-3 years now. Was there a sense of disappointment from you every time you've been given an opponent and it hasn't been Gustafsson?
No, there's no disappointment. I believe in timing, and I think everything's going to happen the way it was meant to happen when it happens. And you know, I think that fight's going to happen at some point, and when the time comes, it'll be good to get past that chapter.
Is that something you feel like you need to get past?
Yeah, for sure. I felt as if fighting Anthony Johnson and Alexander Gustafsson are two really big, important steps in my whole story. And DC, this DC fight is going to be huge in the story too. But yeah, Gustafsson and Anthony Johnson, these are two big fights. I feel like DC, Gustafsson, and Anthony Johnson, you know, once I get past these three, I feel like the argument would be, you know, no more as far as, you know, someone who's really just done a lot in the sport and who could officially rest himself as, you know, and consider himself one of the best ever.
But people already call you the GOAT.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know what I mean? Does that give you faith in yourself, confidence in yourself that you'll achieve what you want, or there's a lot of people already believe you're there?
Yeah, a lot of people do believe I'm there. I just think I just know for a fact that achieving those goals right there, those guys. That for me personally, it would do it. Other people calling you great, it's awesome and it's flattering, and I do believe that my name's up there with those guys. But in my own head, beating those three guys, I'd be able to sit back and say, well, maybe I am.
Jon, your team voiced some concern with the commission about John McCarthy.
Yeah.
Are you able to go into any depth as to what the concern was there?
No, I really don't want to get into it too deeply. I'll just say, based on some interactions that I've had with him, I don't really feel as if. I just feel as if it would be something that is an energy that isn't necessarily the best in there, and to him it's just refereeing a fight, and he does it probably once a week somewhere. For me, this is my life, this is my story, this is my legacy, this is everything to me, and if I don't agree with his energy that he brings to the fight, if I was him, I wouldn't want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not, I'm gonna go as far as saying, if you're not welcome, then why would you even want to be a part of someone's big night that doesn't want you in there with them? I would respect that and say, you know what, I'll back out of this one. I don't need to be in a part of this one if they don't want me a part of it. I don't feel as if we've had the best interactions over the years, and I just really hope that he's not the referee.
Has it been direct conflicts, or just like the way he handled your fights, or something?
It's been a mixture of many things throughout the years. Just the energy, I don't feel like we have the best energy, and it's been an accumulation of some things happen, that was happening throughout some fights, and just our personal interactions. I just don't feel as if, you don't need anything stacking up against you when you're fighting a great fighter like DC. So I would prefer any other referee but him.
Speaking of stacking up, you were doing a lot of weightlifting in your time off. People joked about, I don't know if you took it personally, like Jon Jones got his man muscles and that kind of stuff.
No,
but
that's funny.
You were pretty ripped and stuff. People also theorized it might be tough for you to then come back down to 205. So
Yeah.
how big did you get, and how swole were you?
Yeah.
How hard was it for you to come back to fight shape, which is obviously very different?
Yeah, I got up to about 238 at my heaviest. I was almost 240. Felt great. Felt really strong. Felt like I could compete at heavyweight. I think in my last fight, it definitely played a factor in me being conservative and preserving the way I was using my energy.
You felt like your endurance wasn't the same in that fight?
I felt like I was in good shape. Like my lungs were strong. I just felt like my muscle endurance maybe wasn't in the right place. So I think that played a factor in me fighting conservatively and pacing myself a little bit. For this training camp, I've done almost zero weightlifting whatsoever. I've actually been working on burning off the muscle by doing overloading and endurance. So I think you guys will be able to tell during weigh-ins and during the fight that I look a lot more like the way I used to look, a lot less muscular. And my endurance feels amazing, and I think that's one of the number one ways to beat DC is to DC by embracing the grind and beating him in the dogfight, and that's what I'm prepared to do.
And John, how much did you benefit from DC dropping out and you getting a fight under your belt before facing him?
It's hard to say if I benefited a lot. It was great. It was great to get in there and fight before a challenger for my belt, just to answer some questions. I pride myself on being extremely confident, but I'm still human and still question things and allowed some doubts to creep in and things like that. And I had a little bit of, I won't say doubt, I just had a lot of questions of how I would react after being out for so long. So now I've gotten those questions answered. And I feel like I've made some of the proper adjustments that needed to be made. But at the same time, I honestly feel as if I would have rose to the occasion and did what was necessary to beat DC. I remember in the Oven St. Preux fight, if you watch the first seconds of the fight, I came out sharp with some really crisp, fast techniques, push kicks, spinning kicks, and like just everything was landing, everything was sharp and fast. And then somewhere along the line, in the beginning of the first round, I noticed that Oven's is like, his body language was just like he was like pawing out his punches and like almost had like a spar type of body energy that he was giving off. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, well, if this is what we're doing, my whole energy just came down to like a spar, relaxed feeling, where I believe if I would have fought DC and he would have came out with his hands up, moving side to side and pressuring in, then my intensity would have stayed at a certain level and I would have rose to that level and fought at that level. But OSP allowed me to fight at a more relaxed, chilled out pace, and I felt no need to break that pace because I felt like it was a sparring match where I was just winning and picking them apart. So it was good. So to answer your question, it's hard to say if fighting before fighting DC was this big beneficial thing or not, because I honestly felt like I was ready to beat DC back when I fought OSP.
When's the last time you had doubts in your head going into a fight or questions going into
The last time I had major doubt going into a fight, I would have to say it was when I fought Rampage Jackson. That guy, I had a lot of nightmares leading up to that fight of things not going my way. And for some reason, he intimidated me. He really did. He did. I don't know what it was. I think it has something to do with just, being a young black kid. Rampage is one of those guys you just like, he's the guy, and he howls and he's the big old chain and everything is just like, I kind of looked up to him and idolized him. And so, even though I knew I was a better martial artist, I just had, there was almost like a big brother complex in there somewhere in a weird way. So I used to always see, I used to have bad dreams of things not going my way against Rampage. But outside of that fight, intimidation really isn't, I believe I was meant to do this, so that really helps.
Did you ever have interactions with him personally
before
the fight that helped?
Oh yeah, well, one of my fan experiences with Rampage is just when talking about idolizing the guy a little bit. I remember my UFC debut, I thought to myself, I'm gonna see these fighters and I'm not gonna be a groupie, right? I'm gonna play it cool when I see these guys. And I remember walking into a room and all the fighters were checking in, and Matt Hughes was there, Matt Serra, and just like all these fighters that I had been seeing on TV. And I was thinking, man, this is kind of cool. But I was playing my cool, and I walk around the corner and Rampage is sitting on a chair, and I wasn't expecting him to be so close. And I go, Rampage! Right? And he looks at me and he's like, oh, you're the Jones kid or whatever, He's like, you're fine. And I was just like, I was sitting here thinking in my head, I can't believe I just did that. Right. So like Rampage has always kind of been like, one of those guys who you just he's such a cool dude, and so I idolized him a little bit. So yeah, I think when it was time to fight him, it kind of played in my head a little bit.
John, it seems like when a fans boo DC, kind of gets them, kind of bothers them a little bit.
Yeah.
That's probably going to continue next week. Is that something that you think can affect him in the fight, and what do you owe that reaction to?
I don't think it'll affect him. I think it happened too soon. Like, I think now he's kind of digested it and he's realized that, maybe that's going to happen. And he knows, I think at this point he knows better than to actually let it bother him. If it would have happened on fight week, I think it would have played more of a factor, or maybe on the night of the fight it would be more of a factor. But now, at this point, if he lets it bother him, it would just be weird. What was the other part?
Why do you think the fans will react to him?
Oh, the other part. Okay, so I watched Daniel do an interview, and he said something about the fact that he predicted that Conor McGregor would lose just the same week our last major press conference, and the majority of those fans in there were Irish. So I think that really was what it was about. I think that's really what it was about. People, I could have said something, about beating a baby, and I still would have got cheered on. But I don't think it was as personal as I thought it was. I'm sure the Irish, and another thing is, over in Ireland, I'm sure they don't really care about my car accident as much as the people over here in America. And to the overseas fans, I would imagine I'm an athlete and I'm a fighter, and they want to see me fight. They don't really care about my personal life, where American fans, are a little more connected to what's happening in our personal lives. So I just think it was a mixture of both things. And I think, I felt like the fans were pretty excited to see me again after such a long time. So it was just an accumulation of many things. I don't think the fans that were there personally hated DC as much as what it seemed. I think they were just against them because they're all so for Conor.
You wish fans didn't care about your personal life? Does that bother you that people get into that side?
For the first time in my career, I'm ready to enjoy my personal life just the way that it is. Say the things that I want to be the way I want, act the way I want, dress the way I want. Just not really care as much as I used to, and just be myself and allow them to decide or see what they want to see and decide if they want to like me or not. Where before I actually really was trying. And living a double life, now I'm just kind of living one life, letting people see it for what it is, and just not trying as hard, and it feels better for me personally. I'm a lot more happier. I wish I had this maturity and ready to live like this when I first started. Maybe have been farther ahead.
But people say John should embrace being the heel. So
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? That's, for some people that's a negative thing, and some people it's a positive thing. So do you think that you're a quote unquote heel, or that you're just authentic John, and authentic John is confident, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely never want to be a heel.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm reaching for. I would like to be known as a good person. I would like to be known as imperfect and maybe rough around the edges. And as much as I try to be, and I think that I'm a good person, maybe I am a little bit of a bad boy. But it's not something that I'll strive to be. I've always wanted to be an example and a role model, even though I haven't been the best person. And I'll still strive to be on the good side of things. And I think we'll see that in the next years, as I continue to turn things around and try to do the right things.
Well, that makes you relatable to people. People fall down and get back up again. So
Right.
in a way, it may have endeared you to people when before they, you know what I'm saying? When you're watching you go through struggles, that might be a good thing in a way.
Yeah, I feel as if right now, more now than ever, people are really kind of siding with me in a way and getting behind me. I do feel as if my struggles and the things that's happened throughout my life has made me more relatable and just more real, and it allows people to see that even elite level pro athletes deal with struggles and addictions and demons and things like that, and I hope it gives someone hope to let them know that you don't have to be born with a silver spoon, or you don't have to be this perfect walk straight all the time guy to do great things. You can be used, and you can have talents just the way you are, and not every superhero was a good guy.
Sure.
So yeah.
John, your brother had some issues earlier this year. Were you able to provide him any guidance or lessons, knowing what you had been through?
My which one?
Chandler?
Oh, Chandler with this wacky tobacco.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just told Chandler to not beat himself up so bad, and that ultimately, I just let him know he just had to stay in the straight and narrow for as long as possible and try to do things better, and just let him know, hey, if some cannabis is your biggest problem, there's been a lot of people who do a lot of worse things, so just not to beat himself up too bad and stay away from that stuff and forgive himself and move forward and just give people time to heal.
And can you update us on your mom? You dropped a bombshell at that last press conference that she had to.
Yeah, so my mom, her diabetes has been gradually taking over her health for a while now. We've all known it in our family, and we've all seen it progress. She's lost her sight over the last few years completely, which really hurts me and my brothers the most because, you know, today she has 3 sons who are multimillionaires, and we try to do such nice things for her. She can't see it all. She can't see any of it, you know, like she's always wanted a mink coat, and I got her a mink coat, and she has no clue what she looks like in it because she can't see, you know, and we take her to beautiful restaurants and, you know, see her fumbling over her food and things like that, you know, because someone have to feed her. You know, these should be the best years of her life. She's worked so hard to get us out of the ghetto, and now, now this is her situation. So it's tough on us to see her go through this, but my mom is so strong, and I believe she's where I get a lot of my strength from, is from her. But anyways, so she's lost her sight, and she had an infection in her foot, in between her toes, and it got really bad. So they had to cut her toe off. Then they cut all of her toes off, and then they cut her foot off, and then they cut her calf off. And, you know, we thought they were going to cut above her knee, but they ended up not cutting above her knee. So now she's, the infection is finally stopped, and she's training right now to get a prosthetic leg. And she's eating a lot healthier and just trying to do the right thing. So she's kind of playing catch up. And so that's really tough for us to see her mom going through that. She's had a lot of scares, and we're just praying for her and you know, hoping that things get better. As of right now, she's kind of in a stabilized position where things aren't getting worse, and, you know, things could be getting, you know, better for her. So we're just hoping things continue on the up and up.
We always hear a lot about your brothers and your dad, but your mom played a big role for you as well.
Yeah, my mom was always, you know, my mom is always been a huge supporter of me and all my brothers. You know, she's our #1 fan, our #1 cheerleader. She's always had our back. You know, if you watch my fights, you always hear like China, like, you know, she's always screaming in the backgrounds, and, like, you know, she comes to my room before every fight and she prays for me, and you know, she rubs my face and everything, and tells me, you know, my baby, you know, she always tells me, you're still gonna be pretty after the fight, you know, like, you know, and she always says, it's funny, she always says to me, I got a feeling this is gonna be an easy fight. It's gonna be quick work, you know. And she said that before the Gustafsson fight, and so now when she says it, I'm like, yeah, sure, mom. But yeah, she's my girl, and you know, it's different fighting without her. But, you know, I know she's with us in spirit, and we'll leave her back in New York with a whole bunch of family and people who loves her and cares for her, and she's in good hands while we're out there taking care of business. So.
Well, John, in the last few months, both Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor have lost, which kind of shows how vulnerable, you know, UFC stars can be. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's easy to lose in certain cases, but that's not something you've done. You've been consistent the last few years. What do you owe that to? How's that come together?
You know, I think I owe not losing to losing. You know, I lose a lot in practice. There's a lot of guys who are on my team currently, a lot of guys who are on my team who's not in the UFC who's able to beat me on any given day. I get taken down all the time in practice. I get hit pretty hard. I get tapped out all the time in practice. So, you know, unless you train at, you know, to the fans and to other fighters, you know, they probably look at me as close to unbeatable. Where if you spend time with me and you see that I definitely am not a guy who wins every day. You know, I just got beat in a 5-mile run by a kid who was like 16, 15 years old. So I know that I'm not unbeatable, and so I try to exude confidence, and I try to be confident. And even when I'm not confident, I'll pretend to be confident. It's important. But I know that I can be beat, and I think that's why I haven't been beat. You know, where some of these guys really start to believe their hype. You know, Ronda Rousey, they were saying she's the best fighter of all time, and you know, best athlete in the world and stuff like that. And I was happy for her to hear those type of accolades, but once I realized that maybe she was starting to believe it herself, I knew she was in a dangerous spot. You know, Conor McGregor, you know, saying these things about just being the baddest dude and I'll beat anybody in any weight class. That's foolish stuff, you know. When you believe the hype to that level, that's when you're in danger. So I talk about being confident and being confident and winning all the time, but the reason why I tend to always win is because at the end of the day, I'm more nervous than any other fighter, you know. And it causes me to spend every night, you know, until 3 o'clock in the morning, just on my laptop watching the same damn fight over and over again with a notebook, thinking about the ways I could lose, thinking about what I need to do, and so that's really what I attribute, you know, being undefeated for all these years, just how seriously I take it and how I know how much I don't know. Yeah, it gives me power.
With you headlining UFC 200
Two more
now,
questions, guys.
yeah, and obviously this big media push for the card. Is it safe to say that you and the UFC are kind of back on the same page and the relationship has been mended?
Say that again.
Is it safe to say that the relationship between you and the UFC
It's
has
been
been
good.
mended?
Yeah, we're in a pretty good spot right now. You know, I'm ready to just I'm ready to play the game. You know, obviously I'll always be a guy to try to stand up for what I think is right, and I have no problem. I have no problem standing up to the UFC when it comes to anything that I feel is not right, speaking my mind and going against the grain. But I think at this point in my career, I'm ready to choose my battles more wisely, and not bicker about the small things. Like before, I used to disagree with doing certain media and all this type of stuff. Where these days, I'm really trying to do better at choosing my battles wisely. My goal right now is to be more active and just be more of a company guy. So I just fought in April. I'm fighting in July, and my plan is to win this fight and fight at Madison Square Garden in November, and just try to, you know, get right back into training camp after every fight and fight a hell of a lot more often, 3 to 4 times a year. And I'm saying it now, and it's probably gonna be a lot harder.
Yeah, if you're fighting Rumble and Gus.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot easier said than done, but my goal is to do that, and I believe I'm the guy to do it, especially with this new outlook on life and you know, treating myself better and spending more time in the gym. So hopefully that's what I'll be doing. It'll make the UFC happy and the fans happy, and ultimately.
John, when you
talk
think-
about a lot about legacy and your place in history and all that stuff. You fought at UFC 100, now you're fighting UFC 200. What are your memories of that card, and what does it mean to you kind of be part of the, you know, history like that?
Yeah, I'll get you.
No, it was funny.
The same question.
I just had one follow-up. What's that?
To fight at UFC 100 was awesome. I remember what I remember most about UFC 100 was the pressure. I had just beaten Stephan Bonner the fight before, and I was officially like on the mat, and everyone was excited to see more out of me. And I remember just having too much pressure at so young in my career to follow up that Stephan Bonner performance. So I fought Jake O'Brien, and I just remember having a lot of pressure on me to fight the way I did against Bonner, against O'Brien. One of the things that meant most to me was proving to myself that I could out-wrestle Jake, because Jake had wrestled Division I. He went to, I think, Purdue, and I was just a junior college kid. And I've always had a chip on my shoulder about the wrestling thing because I had to drop out of school. I never got to go D1, so anytime it was time for me to fight a better wrestler, you know, I just always felt like I had so much to prove. So that's where it really started. And sure enough, I out-wrestled Jake O'Brien. I stopped all of his takedowns. I ended up choking him out in a wrestling position. So those are the things I remember most, just the pressure, outperforming myself, and the pressure of out-wrestling a guy who did something I never got to do, which was, you know, compete at the highest level. So, yeah, the wrestling competitiveness definitely didn't start with DC, and I'm sure it won't end with DC.
If it was possible for this Jon Jones to go back in time and talk to that Jon Jones from at UFC 100, what would you say?
Good question.
What would you tell him?
Don't wreck the Bentley. Don't wreck the Bentley. But, yeah, that's probably what I would have told him. Save the Bentley.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Chops, you could just stand for the bell here for the pictures here.